Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are listening to Bras, Panties, and Sports. The NFL Draft has started. Boom. Let the drama begin. I'm Spitface. Please welcome our host, the First Lady of Sports Talk, Cheryl Smith, and Knicks fan. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, you know I'm a big-time New York Knicks fan. Yes, yes, indeed. And they won yesterday, and we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to tell you something. First Lady's nails are starting to look a little bit shorter. Them Knicks got another chop. What y'all going to do, you know? But so far, they playing interesting there. All right, this week on Shout Out, we have performances from Biscay plus Gabrielle Goodman. Where they find that shining star, get the cold feels mute button. First Lady, we're ready. What you saying?
Each week, we try to figure out what is going on in the sports world. Not the plays of the week, more like the players of the week. Are they trying to tell us something, so we ask? What you saying? Fly, little birdie, fly. Time keeps on slipping into the future. Time keeps on slipping into the future. So I want to fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let the spirit carry me. I want to fly right into the future. The little birdies known as offensive players flew to the top of the NFL draft with players chosen from the offensive side of the ball versus 2 on the defensive side. Is this a recognition of a new NFL thinking that is about having offenses that can play bully ball against opposing defenses? Is this situation a reflection that the top 10 players coming out of the college were simply offensive players? Is this reflected of the thinking this year's draft class ain't all that good? Did the Raiders make out like bandits getting Ashun Jonty? George Foreman, Marvin Hagler, both rest in peace. Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jr., and the Steve Miller Band are asking, what you saying? It's funny, in last year's NFL draft, only 3 of the first 10 picks were offensive players, and 2 of them were quarterbacks. So typically teams do build from the defensive side. But things have kind of changed because in today's NFL, you have to score. You need elite offensive players to accomplish scoring touchdowns, whether it's having a great offensive line or having great skilled positions. And this year's draft obviously proved that because, yes, there were more offensive players that were elite. And that's the thing. They were elite players. So this is why you saw so many offensive players being chosen in the draft. And it's been a while since a running back was picked in the top 10. Now, you know what they've done? You know what the NFL has done to running backs? They just buried them after one contract. So, the fact that the Raiders were able to get Ashun Jonty, I just think they didn't get lucky. I just think that other teams ahead of the Raiders, they had other needs than a running back. And, the fact that Pete Carroll took Jonte because guess what? He is a ground and pound coach. So I just think, Jonte just, he didn't, he came to them at the 6th pick, and that's the reason why they took him. I don't think just because all the offense players were drafted is not a reflection that this draft wasn't good. It's just not a completely deep draft in the offensive category. So that's why so many offensive players were chosen in the top 10, because the offensive players that were in this draft were elite talent, and that's the key. When you got an elite talent, you need to draft them. That's why the Jacksonville Jaguars, you see what they did. They gave up a lot of picks to go to number 2 to get Travis Hunter, and he's elite on both sides of the spectrum. He plays great offense as a receiver, and as a quarterback, he's a great defensive player. He's a unicorn. So they gave up the house to get him, and they felt very strongly about that. So, and they have that new young general manager, and he made a big splash, and they got a hometown product. So, hey, they you got to give them kudos. But, in this particular draft, there were numerous edge rushers and defensive tackles. So that's another reason why so many of the offensive players, again, like I said, they were elite. So they had, a lot of defensive players that a lot of teams did not have to use a first-round draft pick to get defensive players. Now, obviously, the Giants, they got Abdul, they went up and got Abdul, Abdul Carter, right? I think, they got up, and the reason why, because he's an elite defensive player. So that's why, when you draft in that top 5 and particularly top 10, you better make sure that player is an elite player, because that player should be starting for you this year. When you get top 10, they should be on your starting team. So you've got to make sure you're accurate with that. And also there were a lot of running backs. Running backs were very deep in this draft. But as I indicated, Ashan Shanti was an elite running back. And we know what elite running backs can do for you now, because we know what Saquon Barkley did. Saquon Barkley did what he needed to do. So, he was very elite. All right. Well, that's, it's about being elite, and that's why all these offensive players win. All right, Spitface, over to you.
Yeah, First Lady, I agree with so much of what you said, and I do have it that the thinking in the NFL is the way the rules are laid out for us to play. It's time to actually go back to bully ball. Yeah, it's always been about putting points up on the board, but defenses have, they adapt, they keep adapting, and there's going to be big scoring. And when I look at offenses like the Lions, the Ravens, the Eagles, the Bills, the Steelers, and there are like quite a few more, they beat you up. Now you could say that they beat you up on both sides of the ball, but their offenses beat you up. Then the big play happens and they start scoring on you, like, the floodgates open and all of a sudden they're scoring all over the place. And actually, I can't say that that's new thinking as much as traditional thinking. Get those big boys on the line that are bigger than the other guys' defense and roll over them, and that's as old as the NFL. I'm going to get my bigger dudes to run over your bigger dudes, and the little guys running routes and, and cutting through the holes. They can do that. They can, because these big guys we got are pushing your guys back so that our guys can run you over. So I'll just say that bully ball didn't go away, but it's starting to look prettier. The tush push, it's starting to look prettier. And, and I didn't mention the Chiefs because with Mahomes, they're just a different kind of team, so to speak, and with Andy Reid, because Andy Reid likes the ball up in the air, so we know that's kind of how he rolls and stuff. But he know how to play bully ball, but their team isn't quite designed that way. But he might have to make some changes. So I think what the draft is just reflecting is that hey, offenses are recognizing that, look, we gotta build that that offensive line, and it's not so much getting the big time receivers or back in the day the running backs. Is we need the big boys and the tight ends, so that we can overpower the other teams. So I think that's just kind of how things are going. And when them guys overpower you, we got that quarterback that can start scoring a boatload of points on the opposing team. The Raiders, I think Dick Dizzy Mack is rather happy that the Raiders got Ashton Genty. Now, I can't say they made out like bandits because he was available and they wanted him. They didn't have to, do anything special. They just, hey, we want him. He's available. Let's just go get the brother. So it just worked out for everybody. So, I think that's just kind of how it goes. And I don't think that so far in the draft it's been a reflection that the quality of this year's draft is somehow down. I do think that it's a reflection that the quarterback position, maybe teams are starting to be a little more skeptical about that drafting a quarterback in the first round. Maybe they start to go, you know what? We're looking at the stats, and a whole bunch of times they don't work out, and that's your number one pick. And whereas you pick a offensive tackle, a guard, a defensive end, even if they don't become like the franchise player, usually it works out that they play pretty damn good. So, when I look at things, the teams, the quality of the players in the draft, no problem. It's just that teams are looking at the quality of quarterbacks, from a different perspective. And the talking heads already said that the quarterback pool was a little thin, skeptical, but the rest of the class itself, fine, So, First Lady, that's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, I don't know if you're going to call it bully ball, but I guess because of, a lot of the teams have gone to the pounding ground. They brought that back again. It's still not an aerial. I still think it's an aerial show type of league. The NFL's always been a copycat league. The Eagles have shown that you can do the pounding ground with Saquon Barkley, but not every team has an elite running back. So, but it's a copycat league, so we'll see. I still think it's more offensive, and I think it's still more putting touchdowns, and I still think the aerial show regarding quarterbacks being able to pass that ball and be able to get touchdowns through the air. And that's the reason why we're going to talk about it in a few minutes, but that's the reason why Sanders wasn't picked in the first round. All right, Spitface, over to you.
I don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years, rocking my peers and putting suckers in fear, making the tears rain down like a monsoon. Listen to the bass go boom. Explosion, overpowering over the competition. I'm towering. Wrecking shop when I drop these lyrics that'll make you call the cops. Don't you dare stare, you better move. Don't ever compare me to the rest that all get sliced and diced competition. Paying the price. I'm gonna knock you out, huh? Mama said knock you out, huh? We are talking about the knockout punch to Shedeur Sanders from the first round of the NFL draft. Is this the flat out biggest surprise of this draft? Will the Steelers make a trade in the second round to get Shedeur, or could he fall further? Is his fall from the first round about personality or skill? Will he do an Aaron Rodgers, lead whatever team gets him eventually to a Super Bowl? Leroy Sackett Page, Walter Buck Leonard, and James Cool Papa Bell are asking what you said. I was surprised. First Lady had predicted that the Steelers would take him. And given the Steelers situation, you could see them taking a quarterback in the first round. And if that quarterback happened to be someone with Shedeur Sanders' talent, grabbing him. You got him. He's there. And he dropped down far enough where you're not paying him number 1, number 2, number 3 draft pick money, even if it is on a rookie deal. So because he done dropped, so hey, you drop, money drop too, and that counts even if it's a rookie contract. So I was really, and actually, I was more shocked that the Cowboys did not snatch him, that they didn't make a tripped out move, snatch him, and prepare for the future without Dak, and the possible future of having, the man himself, Coach Pride, come to the Cowboys. It's like, man, you can do it, Cowboys, you can do it. But they didn't go that route. It's hard to say that he dropped because of his personality. And because everything I've heard is that he was great in the interviews. He, was positive with, so I'm going, okay, there's the showbiz part, but hey, so, that's how, we got coaches making commercials. Okay. So I'm like, and I'm the active coach, if I'm looking at these commercials with Andy Reid, I'm about burn out on them, but coaches making commercials. They make, so it's all Hollywood. It's entertainment. But what you do on the field, you got tape. And what he did on the field with what he had, the teams he's been on, was spectacular. So I'm going, you're looking at the tape. Can you really say it's the personality? Or I'm thinking that it's just maybe teams are a little more skeptical of quarterbacks in the first round because so many of them don't work out. And you have to look, if you look at the stats, if the percentage of linemen, defensive ends, if the rate of them coming into the NFL and doing well, if not being a franchise player, but it is higher. The rate of quarterbacks, so many of them come in, they boom, and they first round picks and don't do anything, and you just spend a bunch of money. Now with the rookie contracts, they're not spending as much, but I kind of think that he was in a situation where the conversation already was that the quarterback pool was thin at best. So I think that the quarterbacks in this draft, there was already a knock that they weren't all that good a class. And I think that impacted him. And more so than his personality, because he got tape. Now, and he has tape, and there are things that, some say, hey, look, 70 sacks. He had a bunch of sacks. What was going on there? Well, part of that is the teams he was on, the spread, but they looked at it, and I don't think it was the personality. I think there was some intangibles, and given that basically, two quarterbacks got chosen in the first round, one at the top and one to the bottom, that does kind of speak to the quarterback class. First Lady, is Shedeur a victim of scouts overanalyzing or personality?
Well, I think he was, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was a big surprise Shedeur Sanders slipping to the second round. Yeah, that to me was the biggest surprise of the draft. His stock had been earlier, people were talking about that, his stock was precipitously sliding, and it did. It slid all the way to the second round, which was a shock. And, he came out with a statement. I thought he was very professional and very humble with his statement that he made regarding him going to the second round. But, Smith-Face actually, you said he interviewed well. There were many, there was a lot of noise out there that his interviews didn't really go well. I mean, a lot of people felt that, there was a lot of anonymously GMs indicating they thought he was arrogant. They said his interviews didn't go well because of his arrogance. But I'm kind of confused because if you are a valuator of a football player, wouldn't you want someone who is overly confident? I think playing football, that's a good trait.
We want the meek and mild quarterback. We want the mousy quarterback.
I was just baffled that was an issue, that he was arrogant. I mean, and then you have to understand, who was his father? Who did he emulate? Who taught him? His father was very arrogant and believed in his skills. So would you think anything less Shedeur Sanders? I mean, yes, he has a style about him that I just think rub a lot of the GMs and the evaluators the wrong way. So, but also, Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback. He doesn't have the physical gifts that what these evaluators are looking for quarterbacks now. They're looking for that Josh Allen. They're looking for the Lamar Jackson type of quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. But Shedeur Sanders, because, when you look at Cam Ward, obviously Cam Ward played in the University of Miami. I saw a lot of Cam Ward games. He has those skills. But Shedeur Sanders, to me, was a more accurate quarterback than Cam Ward. Shedeur doesn't throw they say the arm, the power of his arm being able to throw the ball deep. They complain about that. But he's a great pocket quarterback. So many times you remember when Lamar Jackson and them came out, especially a lot of the black quarterbacks, they weren't pocket passers, and that was one of the things that used to be an issue with a lot of the black quarterbacks. But guess what? Shedeur Sanders is a great pocket passer. He's accurate with his passing. He's good decision-making. What more do you want in a quarterback? This is what is so baffling to me. So if it's the fact that he doesn't have those physical skills that's holding people back, maybe that's it. But remember when he played at Colorado, they didn't have a great offensive line, so that's why he was getting sacked a lot of times. So he was able to do what he did with a bad offensive line. So imagine him having a great offensive line. So you know what, Fitface, I really feel that a lot of you're going to see, whoever gets Shedeur Sanders, I guarantee you, and I text you last night, I said, a lot of great quarterbacks were not chosen in the first round. I mean, a lot of great quarterbacks weren't chosen. We all know Tom Brady was, in round 6? So a lot of great quarterbacks were not chosen in the first round. But guess what? A lot of quarterback busts were chosen in the first round. So that's one of the things you got to look for. Now, the Giants and the Steelers had a chance to draft him. But I'm going to be honest with you, given with the Giants' history of not starting black quarterbacks, I mean, they've only drafted one black quarterback in their history. It was in 2000 when they took Andre Woodson. I ain't never heard of him. And they were the last team in the NFL to actually start a black quarterback. Do you know they didn't start a black quarterback until 2017 with Geno Smith? So am I surprised they took Jackson Dart over Shedeur Sanders? No, I'm not surprised. They're not very complimentary of black quarterbacks. So where would Shedeur Sanders go? He's going to go either to the Browns. They have 2 second-round draft picks. They have pick number 33, 36. They probably might trade one of those picks. Is a possibility he can still go to the Raiders at 37. The Saints are at 40. And guess what? The Rams are at 46. You know, the Rams need a backup quarterback because they need a quarterback in the future. So I'm still thinking maybe the Steelers are going to try to obtain a second-round draft pick. You know, maybe they will make a trade with them. Who knows? Because the Browns do have those 2 draft picks. So maybe they will go and get Shedeur Sanders because I don't know what's going on with the Steelers. Are they believing that Aaron Rodgers is going to be their quarterback? Because right now, they got what? Mason, what's his last name? I don't even remember his name. Rudolph, Mason Rudolph, and Skylar Thompson. We all know that is not the answers. So anyway, it's going to be interesting. But Shedeur to keep his head up. He still can shine as the number 2, second-round draft pick. Where it's going to hurt him, it will hurt him in his pocket. He won't get that first-round draft pick monies that, they are guaranteed to get. But you know what? He doesn't have to worry about that because he can get endorsement deals. So, he can get endorsement deals. So that's what I was saying. I just think those scouts and those evaluators, he's going to make them pay. Trust me on that.
All right, First Lady. Well, First Lady, I do agree. And and like I said, I looked at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was originally predicted to go like 1 or 2, and he slid all the way down to a Green Bay Packers team. Had to sit behind Brett Favre, and he wins a Super Bowl ring. And the number 1 pick, who did have a rather interesting career, basically a good career, but not a superstar career. So Shedeur, if anything, this probably he may not be showing it to the public, but this pissed him off. And when you got a talent who has who knows his value or her value, and you pissed him off, the one thing they want to do is show you, and he is gonna have that I'm gonna show you attitude. And I call that a good thing for a quarterback. First Lady, you have the last word. Please take us to break.
Stay tuned. Up next, we have a performance from Biscay on Shout Out Part 1.
Our First Lady, Dizzy Max snuck in on us. What's up, Big Biz? We'll see you on the side.
Hey, free Mr. Vine.
Okay. The music flows in from around the globe. Get a shout out from the panel. First Lady, I can't wait to hear the music from Biscay.
On Shout Out, we feature new independent artists who are looking to find their shining star. If we like what we hear, we'll give the track a shout out. If we don't like it, we hit the mute. On the first part of Shout Out, we are featuring music from Biscay out of London for their hit album, Dans la Lune. I hope that's right. They said Dans la Lune went live on April the 12th, a full pink moon. Okay, I got to look at that on the streaming services. The equivalent English phrase is head in the clouds. This electric, jazzy song celebrates classroom daydreamers who became extraordinarily creative people. All right, DJ, let's listen to Dans la Lune.
'cause nowadays guitars don't lie, don't lie, don't lie, don't lie. When your minds are spinning top, once again you miss your stop. Take it as a chance to roll, see new sights as you walk home. If you find your inner days frequently attention strays, it's a great way to ignore tales of war from every boy. Don't lie, don't lie, don't lie, don't lie.
Okay, well, obviously I wanted to do this, I guess, Spanish version. It's Dans La Lune. All right, Dans La Lune. All right, so I think that's coming from a hit place, I have to say. I'm going to give that track, shout it out. I'm going to shout it out. It was, jazzy, like they said, a little bit eclectic, eclectic, however you want to say it. But I thought the vocals fit the music, so I'm definitely going to shout it out. Spitface, you shouting it out? You're going to give the track a shout, or you're going to hit some mute?
Thanks for waking me up, First Lady. I'm hitting the mute button, and I'm hitting the mute button. I'm hitting the mute button for a couple of reasons. One, it was like an audition. It sounded like everybody was auditioning, and everybody had great talent. And if they would just put more into the song, as opposed to each, artist kind of, because you could tell, oh, wow, the guitarist can guitar. The piano player can piano. The singer can sing. And it was just like, to me, I get that they were like, well, this is supposed to be kind of eclectic, melodic, but really it was kind of like what I would hear in a hotel lounge, and yeah. So, but what upsets me is that clearly it's a bunch of talent here. So I'm just gonna say now, Biscay, I know you guys are out of the UK, and so we folks, across the pond look at things a little bit different. But if you're hitting an American market, you need to funk it up. Y'all need to get some funk added to it so that y'all can, really display your talents. So listen to some funky jazz, some funked up jazz, because y'all got skills galore, but I got to hit the mute button.
All right. Tell us how you really feel. I mean, basically, you said that song is a hot mess. All right, Dizzy Mac, how do you feel? You hitting the mute button, or are you going to shout it out like me?
I'm sorry. I was sleeping here on the bearskin rug. I didn't even know that they had finished until you started talking. No, I'm hitting the mute button and keep on hitting the mute button because that was not quite up to what you need to do to be a nightclub singer, a cotton club singer, even a bathroom singer. You know, I'm not keeping my hand off the mute button, muted all the way through.
Okay, well, I guess I'm the only one in the minority here. So our part 2 of Shout Out will be featuring a performance from Gabrielle Goodman, and you can find Biscay on those streaming systems. All right, is it time for our favorite underwater friend? Is it time for Flip It?
Faster than light, no one you see is smarter than me. And we swimmer, missing a world full of wonders, flying there under the sea.
All right, it's time for Flip It, where our hosts defend the point and then flip the script and defend the opposing view. The Knicks won a squeaker over the Pistons, 118-116, and lead the series 2-1. Will the series end 4-2 or 4-3? Defend. The Knicks will win the series, but it will take 7 games. First Lady, I know you like your Knicks, and your Knicks is playing some good ball, and the Pistons, they will defeat the Pistons. So I just, and basically that's what it's saying, that the Pistons will be defeated. The Knicks are not a dominating enough team where they can keep the Pistons from winning one more game. So the Pistons got one more game in them. And and more than likely the Pistons are going to get that one game, and the Knicks are going to let them off the hook. They're going to let them off the hook. They can win the series 4-2, but they ain't going to do that. You know your Knicks going to find a way to let them off the hook so that they can stretch it on out. And it takes 7 games. So, I said the Knicks aren't dominating enough where they can avoid 7-game series. And not only with the Pistons, but with whoever they go on to play. And we looking at 7 games all the way. So that's just how the Knicks will roll. Dizzy Mac, defend. The Knicks will win the series, but it will take 7 games.
Oh, it will take 7 games. Definitely. They are not able to rely on their bench enough to be able to match Detroit's physicality. Detroit has more players they can bring off the bench and do different things. All Tibbs can do off the bench is twiddle his fingers because he has nobody other than maybe Deuce McBride, maybe Mitchell Robinson. They just don't have enough to consistently do what's needed. So by the time series gets to 7 games, they'll figure it out. They'll be able to put together a night like last night where they had contributions all around the board, 2 30-point scores, 2 more players with 20 points. But that's just good enough to get it to go 7. And Detroit playing hard. They don't have an answer for Cade Cunningham. And, you know, he's enough to make it go 7 games. I think they won't disappoint the Pistons fans and drop out earlier than that 7th game. They have what it takes to take the Knicks to a 7th game and tire them out. I saw Jalen Brunson's tongue hanging out. He was tired. They had pounded him into the court. But, you know, there are some rest days, travel days to get them back. They have new waves, technology to help his body recover. But 7 games is what I predict.
All right. Okay. Oh, sorry.
All right, First Lady. We talk about her Knicks. We know First Lady ready to defend the Knicks' 7 games.
Yeah, I got excited. Well, the Knicks team in general, to me, is more experienced and have more firepower, especially in their starting lineup, than the Detroit Pistons. However, the Pistons have grit, which will make this series 7 games. I mean, the Pistons actually play a physical style of basketball, keeping it in the mud, and this year's Knicks team is more of a finesse team than a physical team like last year's team. You know, in fact, to me, the Knicks last year played more like the Pistons this year, to be honest with you. So, you know, these games are not going to be pretty. They're going to be very competitive, and this is why this series will go 7 games. And also, you know, the Knicks can go on runs, but sometimes because of their poor defense at times, they don't play good defense 48 minutes. Sometimes they have spells where they just can't defend, especially they can't defend the 3-point line, and that's where the Pistons excel at because they got some good 3-point shooters. You know, they got Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr. is a good 3-point shooter, and in this series, my goodness, they're making Dennis Schroeder look like an all-star. He's been burning the Knicks with his 3-point shot. So, you know, because of that, you know, it's not that big of a league when the Knicks go on these runs for the Pistons to come back because the Knicks are always going to let them back in the game. So because of that and because of the grit that the Detroit Pistons plays with and the physicality, yeah, it's going to go 7. But we know the Knicks are going to win in 7.
Okay, First Lady. All right, the Knicks in 7. The nasty Knicks. First Lady, over to you for more flipping.
We got another part of flipping. We got to go. The Knicks will win in 6 games. You forgot. I got ahead of that. All right, sorry about that. Well, let's flip it. Defend the Knicks will win the series, and it will only take 6 games. Now, First Lady, I'm looking at it, and see, after 3 games, everybody kind of know what everybody's gonna do. So now it's just a matter of who's gonna impose will over the other. And as feisty as the Pistons are, Tibbs knows how to get it, how to kick it into that next gear. So the Knicks, the Pistons may get one more win, and certainly they're playing where they'll get one more win, but that's it. That's it. They will not get 3 wins out of this series. And because the Knicks actually have better talent. The Knicks' bench may prove not to be deep enough, but it's deep enough for this series for them to take them in 6 games. Dizzy Mack, defend the Knicks in 6.
Tibbs figured out the formula. Get Anthony Karl Anthony Towns shots. His teammates did a good job of finding them, making sure that he was able to hit the shots without a hand in his face. He was shooting the three well. You know, you had Jalen Brunson using his smarts to be able to get to places on the floor where he could get his shot. Mikal Bridges did well. OG, I seen him parachuting out the sky for a couple of monster slams. And Josh Hart had an all-around game, just missing a triple-double. If he ever makes some layups, hey, that would for sure put the nail in the coffin. But they found the formula. Tibbs has it worked out, so he gets his people involved early and often. They get out to a lead, and they can play pretty well with the lead. So I think he's figured out the formula, so it's all downhill for the Pistons. They may win one game, but definitely it's only going 6. And they'll be popping the bubbly at Broadway and 6th Avenue, you know, in New York. I can see First Lady putting on her Dookie rope chains, celebrating with a 4-finger ring. Knicks in 6. That's all it's going to take.
First Lady. With the 4 rings. Defend the Knicks.
Well, the Knicks are the superior team. I mean, there's no question about that. And also, they're the team with the most experience. I mean, the Pistons are just happy to be in the playoffs. They haven't been in the playoffs since 2008. And the Knicks have more offensive scorers that can get their own shot than the Pistons. I mean, you have Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and now OG Anunoby. He has increased his offensive skills. You know, when he came over to the Knicks, we paid him all that money because of his defensive skills. And then he could shoot a corner 3. We had no idea that this man can drive to the basket because a lot of the guys that he plays against, they're not as physically strong as him. So that's why Anunoby, OG, has really taken off this season with his offensive skills. Now, the Pistons have 3-point shooters, but those 3-point shooters are type of 3-point shooters that get their buckets in the flow of the game. The Pistons only have Cade Cunningham that can really take over a game and go on a scoring streak by himself. So those other role players, you know, they need to get their points in the flow of the offense. So when you have situations like that, that's why the Pistons have a lot of scoring droughts. And last night game, they had I think they went 4 minutes without scoring. But the Knicks are just so superior offensively, and the fact that they have that playoff experience since Tibbs has been their coach, they've been to the playoffs 3 out of the 4 years that he's been there. So I mean, to me, I really think the Knicks are going to win in 5, but I will give the Pistons another game, so the Knicks will win in 6 games. That's all I'm saying. All right, we seem to have lost Spit Face, so I'm just going to move on to the next. Okay, there you go.
Okay, Percy, I don't know why you weren't hearing me, First Lady. We might be having a little technical difficulty, but over to you for more Flip It.
The NBA playoffs are moving along. Can we assume that none of the coaches in the playoffs will be fired? Spit Face, defend. Coaches in the playoffs don't have to worry about their jobs.
Yeah, it's been an interesting season, and you know, usually they are always at the end of the season. I mean, the end. The playoffs are over. The champion has been crowned, and teams are sitting back and they make some moves and say, "Hey, look, you know what? We got you. You know, you got us here, and that was good work." And I think that this year the coaches who've gotten their teams to the playoffs, whether they get eliminated, whether they get knocked out, or whether they move on, it's pretty much like, you know, do you really want to upset the apple cart? You're making the move. You're in the playoffs. Whatever way your team played or came out, this is the crew, and that includes the coach who got you in the game, and let's build. Let's build and go forward. You know, it doesn't look like they have any shaky coaches who are already barely hanging on their jobs. And that's a big difference. A lot of times there are coaches who, like, if you don't make the playoffs, you out. And most of the coaches, I dare say, that are in this playoff, they weren't being threatened with losing their jobs. So they've done what their organizations wanted them to do. And this group is safe. This group, y'all ain't got to worry about your job. That's, you know, I'm going, don't worry, be happy. You know, that's what I got to say, First Lady.
All right, they're safe. Dizzy Mac, are these coaches safe?
Hey, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. You know how they are. You know, the coaches, they set a dangerous precedent, letting these coaches go at the tail end of the season. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. It's you know, these coaches want to be paid like players, and players want to be, you know, coaches. And, you know, I think it's going to be interesting to see, to say the least.
All right. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, what they say, don't worry, be happy. Are these coaches worrying about their jobs? Well, I would say the majority of them probably are not worrying about their jobs. Well, most of them are going to be there. It's a situation where you made it to the playoff, and usually if you make it to the playoff, you're secure. But, you know, it's one of those things. You just don't know. But I think it's easy to say that I would say the majority of them are going to be safe. And, you know, as it appears so far, it looks more like the GMs are not safe. To be honest with you, several GMs have been terminated already. The ones of the playoff the teams that didn't make the playoff, several of the GMs were let go. So, you know, maybe they're looking at how these teams are being built rather than how they are being coached. So that seems to be the key. So, but anytime you get a new GM, that doesn't mean you're going to be there as a coach either. But I think it's pretty safe. You know, it's pretty, you know, you can say that these coaches are going to be back. And like I said, it's the GMs that are on the hot seat. However, this is Flip It. So we're going to flip this script. Is, you know, a coach getting to the playoffs no longer guarantees they'll have a job at the end of the playoffs. Dizzy Mac, defend.
Well, it's the confidence. You coach with confidence, and you understand your abilities to lead a team of men and have them buy into your program. I think the ones that are able to have the players buy into their program and understand what's being done and what's happening leads me to believe that they will be kept on and have jobs. You know, and again, a lot of these guys are itching to have that first seat and make sure that their program is rolled out in a fashion that will ensure staying on the job longer than what they have been doing.
All right. Fit faith, you know, getting to the playoffs doesn't guarantee you're going to have your job. Defend.
no longer no longer getting to the playoffs, no longer guaranteeing that you have a job at the end of the playoffs. That didn't just start. That's not recent. That's the NBA. You can get your team to the playoffs year after year, and almost any sport, and they can be competitive. But if they lose in the playoffs, your job is not guaranteed. And it reminds me of Doug Collins and Phil Jackson. Doug Collins was winning with the Bulls, and he did not move them in the playoffs, and they got rid of him and let Phil Jackson take over, and the rest was history. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a certain head coach who got them to the darn door and was ready to blast it in. And what did they say? Well, we've never won a champ. We've never gotten this far. We're going to kick you to the curb. Of course, he went on to be the head coach of the Colts and win a Super Bowl. And a certain racist-ass coach, plantation mindset, swooped in and got his first championship ring that should have went to Tony Dungy, but that's another matter. But you will get kicked to the curb. Well, here we go. Isn't it the Nuggets who they're a week away from the playoffs and they fire the head coach? Well, we're gonna get rid of you, dude. We making the playoffs. We're like got a winning record. So nothing is guaranteed other than the sun shall rise the next day. And when it comes to the NBA, the NFL, and a coach, when it's a coach's job, it is the only guarantee is that there's no guarantee. That's what I'm saying, First Lady.
The only guarantee, there is no guarantee, right? Yeah, absolutely not. We can't assume that none of these coaches will be fired. Like you said, Faith, 2 coaches were fired. Like you said, the Denver Mike Malone was fired 1 week before the playoffs started. And if you remember last year, J.B. Bickerstaff, won 1 series for the Cavaliers, and he got fired. So, his coaches they're not guaranteed. And this year, teams, Tom Thibodeau, he was on the hot seat. And I mean, if the Knicks lose to the Pistons, you can guarantee that Tom Thibodeau is going to be let go. As a matter of fact, he has to have a great showing against the Celtics when the Celtics are going to beat the Magic. But if the Knicks advance and they play the Celtics, he has to have a good showing. And is Doc Rivers safe? I don't know. It depends on what Giannis Antetokounmpo wants. Because if he doesn't win, he's going to be on the verge of getting out of Milwaukee. And the thing is, if he says he don't want Doc, you can guarantee that they're going to get rid of Doc because of Giannis. And then you have Denver and Memphis. They have interim coaches. And because the Grizzlies are, the fact that they have interim coaches, how they do in the playoffs will probably determine these 2 coaches' status. And guess what? It ain't looking good. Because the Grizzlies are on the verge of being swept. They had a 29-point lead. They had a 29-point lead and blew the game. That's coaching. And the Nuggets didn't do too well last night against the Clippers either. So, no, man, there's too many of these coaches on this time around in the playoffs. I don't know. I don't think none of them are going to be safe. So it's no guarantee because you make it to the playoffs. Absolutely not. All right, Faith, please take us to break.
On the other side of the break, we have a performance from Gabrielle Goodman. On Shout Out Part 2, please keep your ears glued to those speakers.
Welcome back. The music flows from around the globe. DJ shout out from the crew. Spitface, over to you.
All right. On the second part of shout out, we are featuring music from Gabrielle Goodman. They say Gabrielle Goodman is an international recording artist, vocalist, educator, composer, and author who has several CDs and is excited to release the dance version of Until We Love 2 with powerful vocals that are reminiscent of Shaka Khan. Oh, Sucky. We got to hear that. Reminiscent of Shaka Khan. Okay. All right, DJ. Let's go ahead and roll.
Whoa. love your brother, yeah. Your sister, your brother, yeah, yeah, 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 yeah.
All right. That was Gabrielle Goodman with Until We Love To. First Lady, what's the verdict?
Oh, I shout it out. You know, I mean, obviously, if I like Biscay, I'm going to definitely like Gabrielle. Think she has a wonderful voice. Definitely going to shout out. You know, I love Chaka Khan. She does got a little Chaka Khan style, but I'm definitely going to shout it out.
All right. Okay. We got to shout out. And so we need to find out what the guy on the bearskin rug saying. Dizzy Mac, what you saying?
Well, I know you finished up at the end of the music saying, all right. But I was saying, no right.
We got a no right. Okay.
Oh,
all right. So you hitting the mute. Okay, dude. Well, wow. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and shout out. I rather, to me, it sounded a little more like house music. And I'm just going to say, Gabrielle, you know you needed to send us a second track so we could have heard a little more of your feeling. But since you only sent us one track, we're gonna have to go with that one track. But I'm giving you a shout out. I know Dizzy Mac said no right, but I think he was pretty good. Okay, now that is the end of shout out. You can check out Biscay and Gabrielle Goodman on the Old Grumpy Radio Network. If you'd like to be heard or have any comments, please send your emails and tracks to talent@oldgrumpyradio.com, or you can just like the show on Facebook and YouTube. We accept that. We accept likes. First Lady, over to you.
Before we get your top story, Spitface and Dizzy Mac, just want to mention the hardwood picks. We'll start with brackets beginning the second round of the NBA playoffs. All right, Spitface, what was your top story to watch this week?
Well, my top story to watch is Shedeur Sanders. I want to know where he's going to go and if it's going to be some ridiculously dramatic fall. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Okay. Dizzy Mac, what is your top story to watch this week?
And, 1 second here, I think we had. There you go, Dizzy. We got you back.
Okay. You were talking about house music. I was saying outside the house music. This week, the top story will be LeBron James going for 40 up there in the land of 10,000 lakes. He's going to show Kerry Kev and Mr. Vaughn on both of them birthdays. Happy birthday, Mr. Vaughn, and happy birthday, Kerry Kev. He's going to go for 40.
Oh, okay. Well, I was with you, Spitface. My top story is basically the fallouts from the NFL draft, all the discussion, all the analysis. You know, they're going to all this week. That's all you're going to hear about the draft. Who won the draft? Who lost the draft? So it's the draft analysis. All right. I'm not sure if I've already given kudos to these three young ladies, but the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame announces class of 2025 on April 5th, 2025. And congratulations to the WNBA standout, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, and Sylvia Faust. They will be elected into the Hall of Fame in September. So congratulations to them. And check out our current and previous episodes, Bras, Panties, and Sports.com. This is Cheryl Smith, the First Lady of Sports Talk. You've been listening to me, Spit Face, and Dizzy Mac. You've been listening to Bras, Panties, and Sports. See you next week.